Samantha, welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you, Walter?
Thank you for being with us for your legacy author interview.
I'm super excited.
Your article was wonderful, and we really need more voices for CTE and for mentoring, and you brought so much together in a wonderful, compelling way. Um, you said up front, there's a misconception that only teachers require that support, new teachers. What's your experience with that? How do you see mentoring across a career, and how has that helped you?
Yeah, definitely. So, I've had the honor and pleasure to work at a CTE high school for the past 8 years. And
Yes.
so I see CTE teachers come in all the time from industry. They have 10, 15, 18 years sometimes in industry, and then they come to teaching and they still need that mentorship, right? You're entering a whole new ball game. And even though you're an industry expert and you know all these things, teaching's different. And so you definitely need that mentorship. And I think as educators, we all love to learn and continue to grow. So having a mentor throughout your career is just incredible and it helps you move along further.
Absolutely. So well said. And you made a compelling case for how it creates resilience. You know, a career is a long time, and coming from another career to a second career is a whole different ball of wax. So how do you see that resilience playing out in all of this?
I think a lot of times too, as a new teacher, or even today, I have lessons that flop, right? I have moments where things don't go as well as I planned or had hopes for. And
Yes.
so having a mentor to bounce things off of them and be like, okay, like this is what happened, this is where things went wrong, and to help pull you out of that spot where you're like, oh, I'm just not good at this. And that like almost getting to burnout, right? And almost getting to like the I can't do this, I'm not good at it part. It helps build up like, okay, I had a bad lesson, this is how I'm going to fix it. And what would my mentor say?
It's a great example. I'm thinking of people I've known in the past that came from engineering and AutoCAD and drafting, and they have all this industry expertise, and you put them in a classroom, and it's like, oh, classroom management. Oh, you know, it's like a whole different skill set. Um, how do you see schools preparing professionals for that? Are we doing a good job, or is it a lot of get in there and learn by doing?
I think schools could be doing a better job if I'm being honest.
Okay.
In New Jersey, we are required to have mentors our first 2 years of teaching, which is great, but then it kind of falls off. And if you don't have a great mentor, then you're not really getting those supports. And there's no formal system, right? The mentor could do whatever they want from you. I had a really great mentor my first 2 years. And she had like, we scheduled meetings the entire year. She had a notebook for me. She had like an agenda for every time we met, and she really followed through, but not every mentor is doing that. And then I also think for our CTE teachers specifically, sometimes we're like, oh, they're industry experts, they've got this. But, everyone needs a mentor. And even those CTE teachers, because they're like, yes, oh, I got to do classroom management. Oh, I have to email parents. This is too much, right? And so I think schools can be doing a better job and we need a system in place.
It's a fascinating time in education, and you're broaching a whole nother subject that I'm sure you're not even realizing I'm about to bring up, but it's so timely, I'm gonna bring it up. We're seeing here in Virginia, and I'm sure it's the same in New Jersey, with the teacher shortage, a lot of people coming in to teach that even if they're not technically trained from some other industry, are being put in situations where they're going to have to learn by doing because it's the middle of the year and we need teachers.
Yeah.
And so the question that came up in our last pop talk with Dan Reichard was, how do I support them in the classroom while they're on the job to help them get the skills and make them feel like they're supported when there's not enough hours in a day to begin with just to teach, never mind get the coaching and the training. Any insights on that?
I think, tapping into the power of teachers in your own school to help those new teachers, right? In a department, like tapping into those individuals and being like, hey, can you just share some resources? Check in with them throughout the day, even. Instructional coaches, we have department chairs. So the department chairs would be in charge of checking in with them. But I also think it's just even having like a Google Doc with hyperlinks of like different resources that the teacher could check out by learning by doing. And like, okay, like these are some like hot things that you need to know. I think even just having like a need to knows is really important too, because it's like, oh, I should have told them this, but no, here's a doc with like the need to knows.
I think that's brilliant. I was reading some other industry advice where companies have complete teams to develop um, little video tutorials and just in time fly by the seat of your pants. Here's what you need to know. But since we're educators and we don't have all those extra resources, just to have a shared Google Doc where you're just adding links and ideas and letting people know it's there could be a huge help because when you're in the classroom in front of kids, you can't stop to have the conversation.
No, you can't stop to have the conversation and having like a dashboard, if you want to call it like the educator dashboard, with like, okay, here's the phone numbers of like different important offices you might need to call during the day. Like, how do you even
Exactly.
get in touch with like the school nurse if you need to call them during class or
Things
another
that,
teacher?
yes, things that we never think about if we've been teaching for 8 years. We know all that. We're not thinking, oh, they could
Right.
be stuck. That's a great idea. So you did mention at the beginning of the article, state of New Jersey requires everyone to have a mentor the first year. That's great. That's great that institutionally it's just in place for the state. How does it work? Is there a lot of hit and miss with personalities and who's available? Or does just having anybody to talk to make it a better first year experience?
So I do think it's hit and miss.
All right.
Usually it's like a seasoned teacher in your department that administration asks to be a mentor. And then you just have to hope you get along with that person. And
Exactly.
I've seen some mentors not work out where people are like, oh, like I cannot work with this person anymore. I need to switch. I do think there could be some more formal maybe personality matching or just like a formal like plan in place because it is up to the mentor to kind of design that.
Yes.
um but I do think it's important, and I think even if the personalities don't always get along, if you had a plan in place like, okay, September we're going to talk about these things, October it's this, November it's something else, it takes away from that like personality conflict maybe because you're always focused on the same shared goal.
Great idea. I remember early on with emerging leaders, we used to kind of throw everybody in the mix and then assign mentors. And it was very hit and miss. And towards the end, when we got older and wiser, we set it up where the prospective mentors shared about themselves, and then the new emerging leaders got to pick. So instead of unwittingly hoping people would be a good match, people got a better sense of each other. And then when they picked, it was, you didn't rule out everything, but it just got to be a better, higher rate of probability that people would get along and find that they could truly help each other. I don't know how you would do that at a state level, but at least maybe in a school, being able to,
Yeah,
yeah,
I feel like too sometimes we get too hung up on like, oh, if you teach English, you have to have an English mentor, or if you teach math, I think there could be cross curricular and you could just go based on personality because
yeah.
teaching is teaching. And although, like, yes, there are different subject levels, especially at the high school,
Right.
um, we can all learn from each other. And something in math might be really working in the English classroom, a certain strategy.
It's a great point, especially when it comes to instructional strategies. It's not necessarily content area based and classroom management. Um, Most of my public ed career was in ed tech. And so as I moved up, I inherited more and more staff that they were all content area experts. They were the programmers and the developers and so I would laugh and joke with them that it was like cowboys walking up to the bar and everybody had to show that they had their stuff and they had their street cred. Um, but they would learn so much more when I would get them talking to the data people and the professional development people. And it makes sense. I mean, I know in high school you do get kind of proprietary. We're the math department, we're the English department. But to get them to talk cross departments and help each other, there's got to be a lot of learning there that we're missing out on.
Oh, there definitely is. And I
Yeah,
feel like high school, we need to rethink our whole system anyway, right? There's no reason why we can't have cross curricular activities for our students, and they don't need to necessarily sit in English and math for 80 minutes each. We could be doing something combined, make the learning
amen.
meaningful to them.
Is that where you see the future of this going? That it's going to be more open and students able to move across and around based on interest and needs?
I hope so. I think the students would really enjoy it, and that's what I love about working at a CTE school is because we're able to do more things like that.
Right.
I used to teach English at the CTE school, and I used to do a collaboration with our biotechnology academy when we read Frankenstein. And
Yes.
so being able to show students that connection between this old book,
Right.
right, and this new field of biotechnology was super exciting. And it made them think, wow, like what else is out there? Like what else that we're still reading is still so connected to today?
And isn't that what education's all about? Just
It's
getting
all
them
what it's all
excited.
about.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You did talk about um, being called into a faculty meeting at some point and being told you could have outside mentor experiences. I forget the term you used,
Externships.
externships. There you go. Talk about that. What was that like, and how do you see that in the future?
So I thought the idea of the externships was really, really cool because I'm the only one in my school that teaches my program. So
Yes.
I don't have another teacher to bounce ideas off of that really gets what my program is all about.
Yeah.
And there are other teachers like me that they're the only ones that teach their program.
Yeah.
And so being able to go out and meet other people that like really get it and you can bounce an idea off of is like amazing. And then you could also see what other programs are like. You could take a little bit, share a little bit, and you really just grow. I was able to connect with a teacher that teaches my program in a different county, and now we have a field trip to each other's school once a year with our students. So our students
Cool.
are now collaborating. And so you really just get to get out there and then learn something new. Even a day away sometimes from school, even when you're in your own industry still learning, it revives you. It really gives you that passion, that energy to get back into the classroom and do better for your students.
It's so true. And stepping outside, just outside of your school, can, as you said, just be a shot in the arm. Stepping outside and actually getting perspective from other programs or even other industries, when you come back to your classroom, you have a much deeper appreciation of what you have. And then
Totally.
also, yeah, and what the possibilities are for what you don't have, what you could be doing that you hadn't even thought of. Do you find that people coming from other industries bring a whole another level of perspective because they've worked in corporate or they've worked in manufacturing?
Oh, definitely. And I think it makes us as teachers here that have been teachers our whole life
Yeah.
a little more appreciative for what we have because they're like, oh, this would never fly in industry, or it's so different in industry and you have no idea. And so it does give you that different perspective. And then I think it also prepares our students for to succeed in that world.
Isn't that so true? And do you think students pay more attention when they're learning from someone who's actually done the work in that industry? I mean, does that give
Oh,
them more?
definitely. I feel like the students thrive on those stories that the teachers will tell about being in industry.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of teachers that still, at the end of the day, will go and do their own business afterwards that are still in industry.
Cool.
Some of like our plumbing program, our HVAC program, electrical, they're all
Yeah.
still running businesses. And so the students really are seeing like, okay, like this is what it takes. And this person's staying up to trends on what's happening out there.
And they've got to. I mean, how could you be
Mhm.
relevant if you're not doing the work? It's changing so fast these days. It's absolutely. You talk about the whole cycle, the whole mentoring cycle. For those of us who aren't familiar, can you talk a little about that and how it cycles?
Yeah, I feel like when you first start out in the industry,
Yeah.
you gain a mentor and you are, you know, bright eyes and you're excited to learn
Right.
and you're new. So you're getting your feet wet, you're learning more.
Yep.
And then somewhere eventually you become that veteran teacher or that veteran person. And then all of a sudden you're the mentor. And now you're giving back to the new person. And so I still have mentors that I keep in touch with, but I have been mentors to other teachers, which I'm like, wait, how did I get there? So now I'm taking things
Right.
from what my mentor did with me and now what I'm seeing with these new teachers, what they need.
Yes.
Right. And so that cycle just continues. So you're hoping that one day they're going to get to be a great mentor, like you had a great mentor.
And isn't that such an aha moment? You're making me think back years, obviously, but that moment when you're like, oh, wait, I'm the expert in the room. Oh, when did that happen? And
I'm
what,
like, wait,
you're right, because we're such lifelong learners, we never think about getting there and being the expert. We're always learning.
it's so true. I'm like, wait, I need to go talk to my mentor about something.
Which feeds right into your point that we should always have mentors. It's not just for newbies. I mean,
Totally. And as careers grow and change course, you definitely need to continue to have a mentor. I mean,
yeah,
even for example, I know everyone hates talking about it, but COVID, right? That was a total shift. And
yes,
teachers that have been teaching forever were like, wait, I need to rely on some other people and go back to mentorship because this is a whole new world for me.
it's true. Everything's changing. It's true for every profession, I would think.
Definitely. Even with AI now, right?
Yes,
It's
yes,
changing everything.
it's crazy. Totally crazy. Um, you do make the case for mentoring, helping build a stronger teacher pipeline. Talk about that because that's so needed.
Definitely. As you had mentioned earlier about the teaching shortage in Virginia, I
Yeah,
mean, it's across the board, as we know.
yeah,
And I think teaching gets a bad reputation sometimes.
yeah,
And so I think one of the big issues is support. Teachers need more support, and having a mentor can go a long way. It could really validate someone who's maybe having a hard time, right?
yeah,
It could build that resilience for them to overcome a hardship and
yeah.
keep going because this
Yes.
is such a great profession and we do lose great teachers.
We really do. And it kind of breaks my heart to see this whole narrative emerging of how you can do something else besides teaching and how you can get
Right.
out of the classroom. It's like, no, 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 no. We need really good people in the classroom. Um, so in all of that and building the pipeline and kind of changing the narrative that, teacher people that can't teach. And I mean everything you wrote about in that article speaks to that. To change that narrative, that's a huge lift. Society has a real
I know.
opinion about teachers. Any other thoughts about how we help ourselves to change that narrative? Obviously, the whole mentoring piece is huge, and people feel like they have more support and chance for success. Um, is
I would
teaching
say we need
going
to
to
start early.
tell me more?
I think when students are student teaching in their college profession,
Yes,
we need to get them like mentors there, right? Strong cooperating teachers that are going to help them through student teaching, strong college professors that will help them and become mentors for them.
yeah,
Then when they get out into industry, I think our schools need to set up a better system for mentoring in their first year. I think we start small and then it could build onto that. But I think in those early years of someone's career, I mean, most teachers are going to leave within the first 5 years of their profession.
yes.
And so it's building support in those early years to really like support those teachers. And maybe we really need to rethink how much time new teachers are spending in the classroom. Maybe the first 2 years is one less class for them so that they can have more prep time, more time for mentorship, more time for professional learning.
That's a great recommendation. I hope people are listening. I mean, that's huge, those first couple of years. Um, so as this all kind of reframes and education's going to have to reframe because society's totally resetting, and as you mentioned, AI is the most immediate example of that. Uh, where would you like to see education in like 10 or 15 years from now? As you're kind of coming into the fullness of your career, and what do you think?
I would love for CTE programs to be expanded, expanded access.
Yeah.
to students, especially in high school, right? I think being able to explore a CTE program while you're in high school really will help students
Yeah.
decide what they want to do after,
Right.
right? And college is not for everybody, and that's okay, right? But there's so many different fields you can go into. And so exposing students to more CTE fields that they could go into while they're still in our school where we can mentor them, I
Yes.
think will really help. So I would love to see expanded access with CTE, but
Yeah.
then that also means we need to think about how we're recruiting CTE teachers and structuring our CTE programs in schools, which is a whole different conversation, but we need
I
to decide that.
Well, I see it in the literature and I see it in even on online conversations and groups that that's where the conversation is. We need to make it more mainstream and not a separate program. Um, you have to wonder what it's going to take to make that shift.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. So I know there's a lot of talk about recruitment and retention, and one of the things that there seems to be a lot of consensus on is when you have strong relationships with other teachers, or when you feel like you have strong relationships across your district, you're more likely to stay than if you feel like you're in a silo and you can't even ask for help, let alone get help. And the case you make for mentoring addresses so much of that. And so then everything else we've talked about, it's all buttressed by this, that having those relationships and mentoring is such a natural way of developing those relationships that people can stay and grow over time and not leave in those first 5 years. Makes sense to us.
No, it's so true. And I just feel like we need to do it. Like schools just really need to start rethinking and reshaping. I mean, I don't think anybody would have an issue with a new teacher having one less class to become a stronger teacher.
Right. And I think with all the disruption going on, this is where we have the climate for these opportunities. For
Right.
decades, no one was pushing to change. Everyone was just, this was the way we do things. So with everything going on, which is really feeling like a full-blown crisis in education now, here's the opportunity to make that change. And
Totally.
your voice is so critical because you're in there doing the work. And for you to advocate for this and to write this article for us, thank you, gets it out there. Get more people thinking about this,
Well,
you
thank
know?
you for the opportunity. I think, it's such a needed topic.
It
People
is.
are starting to do CTE more, but we're forgetting about the CTE teacher, and they're so different than just our normal teacher. And all the
Yes,
teachers are important. I do want to say that, but
of
they're
course.
coming from a whole different world and background. And so to plop someone with 20 years of experience in a hair salon, then to teach kids cosmetology, right? We
Right.
need mentorship. And so they don't get that 4 years of college for teaching like, most traditional teachers do.
Yeah, and I think the key word there is traditional. This could become more and more the norm where people are coming into education that haven't just come out of a traditional 4-year program. And Lord help us, even those of us that did come out of a 4-year program really weren't ready. You're not ready till you get
Right.
in there and do it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
all teachers could use that one less class and that extra time for mentorship, professional learning, no
Yeah.
matter if you went to college for teaching or not.
So well said. So when you're not changing the world with the wonderful work you're doing, what do you like to do for fun? What do you do when you get summer vacation or holidays?
I like to travel, so I like to go explore new places. I
Wonderful.
love going to the beach, any beach
Oh yeah.
destinations on my list. Um, but I also love a good TJ Maxx and Marshalls trip.
Ah, there
I
you
love
go.
going on a hunt for a good deal. What are you gonna find, what day and what brand is gonna be there? What price is it gonna be?
Exactly. Yeah, I was on a meeting last weekend and somebody showed up with this very fashionable baseball cap with a wonderful slogan on the front. And I just had to say, where did you get that? And she said, TJ Maxx. And I was like,
It's the
okay,
best.
I gotta get there.
It is
Um,
the best. You never know what you're going to find.
so you're a Jersey girl, so obviously you have beaches that everybody knows and loves in Jersey. What are some beaches you would love to see elsewhere?
Okay, so Greece has always been my favorite
Oh
place.
man.
I've been there a few times. I'm lucky enough.
Wow.
But I'm dying to go to Italy's beaches.
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
love to see the Bahamas.
Oh yes.
I haven't been there, but I have been to like other Caribbean islands.
Nice, nice.
Um, but I think Italy is probably up there on like I want to go to
Wow.
their beaches. I'd love to go to the Bahamas. I want to
Yes.
like go to the beaches with the flamingos and
Yes.
yes.
Well, I'm very impressed. Usually when I ask about beaches, people want to talk about the Gulf Shore or the Pacific or, the
Oh no,
American
we're
places.
dreaming big, Walter.
You are. I'm very impressed. And I'm impressed you've already been to Greece a few times. It's one of the few places I haven't been to that I want to see. So,
Oh, you
I
have
mean,
to go.
yeah, I mean, the start of Western civilization, just so much to see.
I love Greek mythology, so being able to go there and see all the different places and
Yes.
amazing.
And I have to say, the food, it just, oh my God.
Oh,
Just
amazing. Different world.
absolutely, absolutely.
Different world.
Well, one of these days. Samantha, thank you so much. You are
Of
such a
course.
pleasure.
This was amazing.
Keep that voice going. Let people
Thank you.
hear. Let's make a difference in education.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, Walter.
Absolutely. Talk soon.
Thank you.